Hello, and welcome to this video on orthography statements. To start with, what is an orthography statement? What do you mean by that?
An orthography statement is a write-up of how the orthography works in a language. It has all the decisions that stakeholders have made and agreed upon. It is a useful tool for people who have questions about letters or word breaks or other things. Normally, it is not used for teaching new literates. Literacy books do that, but it is a reference for those who already know how to read.
And an orthography statement is not a technical paper, like a journal article, right?
Right. And it is not the same as a phonology study, and it is not a write-up of only one part of the orthography. It is an overview of the whole orthography. There are two main audiences for an orthography statement. One audience is your organization or the government. These may require an orthography statement. The other audience is local speakers of the language. For this audience, it is good to have a local speaker help to write the statement, or even better, a small team of local speakers.
I have a lot of other things to do. Why should I take the time to write an orthography statement for either audience?
As I said, one main audience is local speakers. The orthography statement shows the local language community what has been decided. It also reminds the local decision makers what they have decided. Sometimes they forget. If questions come up, the statement is where you go for a reliable answer. Also, sometimes new people will join a language project, and the orthography statement shows them what has already been decided. It can be part of their new worker training. For a government agency or other organization, they may require an orthography statement, and this will show them what you have done. Finally, an orthography statement will help all writers of the language. These are people who write literacy primers and those who write stories and other materials. It can also be helpful to translators. And anyone thinking about agreement with Unicode will certainly need to look at this statement. See our video on technical issues about this.
Okay, I see that it is good to have an orthography statement. But how should I write it? What is in it exactly?
This partly depends on who it is written for. It can be really technical for an outside audience, or simpler for average local speakers to use. It should be written in the national language, though you may also have a version in the local language for those who need it. And you need to have a table of contents so people can find what they are looking for. As for what is in it, different languages have different numbers of letters. Some orthographies are simple, and some have a lot of complexity. So, an orthography statement for some languages will be short, just a few pages. But for other, more complicated languages, it can be much longer.
Even simple languages need several parts in their orthography statement, I would think.
Yes, every language has consonants and vowels, so every orthography statement should have a chart or a list of consonant symbols along with the sounds they stand for. You should also have a chart or a list of vowels, again with the sound of what each symbol stands for. For all these consonants and vowels, it is good to have an example word for that letter. One way to help people understand is to say, this language uses P, T, K, B, D, G, A, E, O, U, just like English does, or whatever the national language is. Or you could divide the letters like this. These letters are the same as in English, and these are letters that English doesn't have. Or maybe these letters are used differently than in English. If your national language is not English, of course compare your letters to that language, not English. You may want to also compare your language's orthography to the orthography of a well-known language in your country. If the language has a larger variety of sounds, you may want to do separate sections for modified or complex sounds, labialized consonants, nasalized vowels, and others.
Okay, so every language has consonants and vowels. Is there anything else every language has?
Actually, no. Almost every language has word divisions, although some do not. So most languages should have a section on when to join and when not to join. See the video on word breaks for how to think about these. Also, almost every language has rules for capitalization and punctuation. See our video on these. People argue about these, so it's good to include this section. For some languages, the consonants and vowels just sit there and don't change. But in other languages, vowels and consonants can be removed or added or changed in some other way. There can be different changes that happen. For example, let's say ku plus asi means to eat. In normal speech, people say it quasi. So do you write kuasi or quasi? To decide when you need to show these changes in the orthography, see the video on phonological levels.
There's one big area we have not talked about yet, tone, and how to mark that in an orthography.
Yes, indeed. More than half the world's languages are tonal. We have 3 videos on tone: lexical tone, grammatical tone, and other issues in tone. Some languages, even if they are tonal, do not need to mark tone in their orthography, but many do need this. These videos will help you decide if you need to mark tone or not. And if you do need to mark tone, then how to do it. If you are working in a tone language, then your orthography statement should say something about tone. Even if you decide not to mark tone, write something in the statement like, "Tone will not be marked," and tell why not. But if tone is marked, it should be explained in the orthography statement. Do this for both lexical tone and for grammatical tone, if you have them.
For all these, for consonants, vowels, and tone, you need to give examples. And it would also be quite helpful to have a short text, maybe a story, that shows how all these things actually work.
Yes, a few paragraphs that use the orthography can help people a lot in understanding how it works. An orthography statement should definitely include all the above topics if your language has them. There are other things that are not as crucial that can still be helpful to include.
What kinds of things are these?
For many languages, some notes on grammar or parts of the grammar will be helpful. How do you write different verb tenses? Do pronouns connect with the verb or not? If your language borrows a lot of words from other languages, these are called loan words, and you could discuss these. For example, market could be borrowed as marketi. You can write a tentative orthography statement before everything is decided. So it is helpful to write what stage the orthography is in. See the video on stages. Include the date and label it Trial Edition, Second Edition, or whatever edition it is. For example, Second Edition, October 2022. For some languages, someone else proposed an orthography many years ago. Your orthography is different from that one, of course. For these cases, you may want to include a short history of the orthography in your language, and also maybe a chart comparing that other orthography with the one in your statement.
What if you're not sure about something in the orthography? Do you just not mention it?
Be honest. For any orthography statement, you need to include a section on any issues that have not been solved yet. If you have solved everything, great. But be open when there are still things that need more attention.
Well, it sounds like we're all done.
Almost. I have a few more things to say. An orthography statement is usually a separate document, but if your language has a dictionary, the orthography statement could be included in the front of that. That way, if people looking at the dictionary have a question about how a word is written, the answer is right there in the same book. But even if the dictionary does have a spelling guide like this, it is good to have a separate statement too. Also, as you are writing, keep remembering who you're writing the statement for. For local speakers, you want to communicate in words that will connect with them. For an outside audience, a more detailed and technical orthography statement can be done. That takes time, but writing 2 orthography statements for 2 audiences might be a good thing or even necessary in some situations.
In this video, we have talked about orthography statements, a description of how the orthography works. An orthography statement is valuable as a record of what stakeholders have decided about the orthography and very, very helpful to speakers in telling them how to write their language. So, it is worth the time needed to write one.